Chance here, a great save. A turner from McClare. Mike Hunt. A terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving.
Hello, you are listening to the Wednesday Week, brought to you by the Riverside Cafe on Catch Bar Lane. And I am your host yet again this evening. I am very sorry about that, to be honest. My name is Victoria, and I will admit I am a Tinderholic. And with me on the line, first of all, it's everybody's favourite bearded lady. It's James Marriott.
I was particularly impressed, Vic, that there was a photo of you Tindering on the front row at the film premiere.
Off. You know full well
night.
I was not Tindering. I was recording audio for the podcast. That, may I also confirm, I got permission from Trevor Braithwaite. So
you did that afterwards, not during.
You're not on yet.
You did it afterwards.
You're not on yet.
You did it afterwards, not during.
Right. I'll just put Fudge and just not include you. Anyway.
Hello, I'm still here.
Is the father of two, the lover of many. It's Dicky Owl. Good evening.
Hello there. How are you, darling?
Hello, my love.
No,
yeah,
you hate me. Yeah, well.
And then finally, our very own 90s throwback, Daniel Fudge. Good evening, sir.
Oh, why did I get Sunday name there? Why did I get the full Sunday name? Is that because it fits with the Baby Shark track?
Daniel Fudge.
Daniel Fudge.
Daniel Fudge. I did little dance moves and everything there, like the kid in the video.
Great.
He's going to regret that in years to come, isn't he? He's going to look a right twat in years to come. Poor lad.
So are we about this, though, to be fair.
It's going to be like, like people still walk up to Steve Coogan and say, aha! You know what I mean? Even now, it's going to be like that. That's what's going to happen.
Or Howard from the Halifax adverts.
Yeah, that.
Anyway, boys, obviously we spent the last weekend in Berkshire and our captain, Mr. Reach and Mr. Joao, again found themselves on the score sheet. Fantastic. Reading was still searching for their first 3 points of the season and we were there to disappoint them, as usual. Very much Daniel Fudge-like, if you will. Albeit we made it tricky for ourselves at times. When I looked at the stats for the game, because I was in Meadowhall, so I didn't listen, obviously. But in fairness, the stats were pretty even. It was like 51-49, 52-48 the whole way through. Fudge, my gorgeous boy, you were there. Tell me about it.
Well, it was, to be fair, a pretty boring game of football. And I think you're right. The stats themselves were quite even, as it were. They definitely had opportunities to get into the game. Sam Baldock, I always thought was a bit lethal at this level, but whatever he used to have, he just hasn't got it, or he's just on a poor vein of form where his confidence is on the floor because he couldn't hit a barn door with anything. But yeah, deep in the heart of Berkshire, Drive by FM. I think that's the Ali G reference from the movie. That, but yeah, we turned up there, met some of the boys from London, went for a Stein in Reading. And then the worst 2 mile journey that anybody's ever taken from Reading Town Centre to the ground, which I think we're discussing. Because it's just an anus of a town. It's just awful.
Okay. All right. Brilliant.
So I've got to agree with you, Fudge. It's awful, isn't it? It's awful.
It's one of the worst away days.
I went down recently and sat by the river in the town centre and I quite enjoyed it. It was all right. I had a few beers down and it was nice.
How many beers did you average?
You didn't have to go to the football stadium though, did you?
No, I didn't watch the football.
Right, it's that kind of town centre to football stadium journey is just one of the most soulless trips that you can do in your entire life. It's like driving around Milton Keynes. It's just like there's no words to get across.
It's just we stopped in a hotel just close to it. It's just a trading estate. With loads of
it is basically just a massive industrial estate, isn't it? Let's be honest. Yeah. It is Milton Keynes, but a little bit not
without
as
the roundabouts.
Yeah. No, not as many roundabouts. And no, take that echoing from the bowl in the middle. So, anyway, Fudge.
Go on.
Penny's cross for Rita's goal. I mean, come on. That is the stuff of dreams, yes?
For me, it was reminiscent of, I don't know if you remember, if older listeners will remember, the goal in Euro 96 against Holland from England, where the cross came in, about 3 or 4 people could have absolutely laced it into the goal. And there was a couple of dummies, and it was beautifully placed by Reach. But Penny was outstanding all day. I thought he was quality. I think he's got a huge future.
Is he one to watch?
Definitely, yeah. Dave / Matt Penny is one for me to keep an eye on. I think he looks assured.
Sorry, just to ask James, just because he knows all the boring shit that we don't know. Does he have a long contract with us? Is he just on a first-year permanent
Who's this? Matt Penny?
Pro contract? Matt Penny.
Matt Penny, I believe, is he out of contract this coming summer?
Okay, so he's first-year pro.
Also happens to be represented by a certain agency that we may have some dealing. They're not called that anymore. They're called something different now. But he is represented by a certain agency, which is not the end of the world because we've got other players that are. I think Lucas Joao's represented by them. He signed a new contract, so it doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. But we need to be kind of having a good look at that, don't we?
Okay, so Fudge, you were there again. You were there. I know you've made notes, babe. I know you've made notes. So, Joao's goal of the day, was it not?
Didn't see it.
You weren't having a beer, were you? You were having a beer, weren't you?
Of course I bloody was. It was literally 30 seconds.
20 seconds after half time. And we were having
downstairs,
a piss or a beer.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Sky Sports News was on. I was actually trying to check my bet falling to shit. And all of a sudden the crowd erupted. And I thought it was somebody cheering behind me because they had the highlights on from the 2010-2011 season on. And I thought, oh, that's nice, isn't it? Oh, wait, no, we've actually scored. Oh, it's 2-0. Lovely stuff. But I was frantically on Twitter. It's seconds later trying to find a view of it. But, it ain't the same.
My mate Goody, 2 seasons ago, he had a spell of going down to get a beer about 40-odd minutes, and he missed 8 goals during the season. So the standing joke was, Goody, fuck off for a beer. We're losing 1-0. Go down there. Yeah,
we do that
8
with
goals
my
is
dad.
good.
We're like, Dad, you need a wee. Go and have a wee. Go and have a wee, Pops. Go on. Because every time he does, we score. Honestly, and he hates it, but he's also secretly really proud that he has that superpower. And I think, when people ask you and they say, what superpower would you have? And people say to fly or whatever. I just think if I could piss and Wednesday score, we'd be laughing, wouldn't we? We would be buzzing. So anyway, Daniel Fudge, right? So
let me get back to football. Yeah.
After obviously we conceded and it all went to shit and everyone squeaky bum cream for the rest of the game, we won. And Lucas Joao went to top of the power rankings for the Sky Premier Championship, whatever it is, fantasy football thing. He's got 8,000 points already. And not only that, Bannon is 4th and Reach is 15th. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells you that we've had the best start in the last 3 years, which is quite ironic given the moaning and the chuntering that's gone off. But, anybody would think we were bottom of the league and doing terribly. It doesn't help when Sheffield United and Leeds are looking quite tasty as well. But this game wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, Matthias has managed to, I was going to say, prove himself. I mean, he did try and run around a lot and did run his blood to water. But as soon as they scored, we should have got Forestieri on a little bit early because, Forestieri is the king of what I like to call shithousing. When we're trying to run the clock down, which is what we attempted to do after 12 minutes, an away game. But for the last half of this first half, we were playing Stuart Gray football. We were trying to defend a 1-0 lead. It was like playing for Sven-Goran Eriksson. Do you know what I mean? So let me read you some of the notes that I've made, and I made these the other day. So I'm seeing these for the first time in 4 days. It wasn't nervy at the end. So, it wasn't, to be fair. It wasn't that squeaky bum last 10 minutes. They were...
Really?
they were bloody awful. The way Twitter was kicking off, we can't believe it, they nearly scored at the end. They didn't. They were shit. They
were a poor team, weren't they? They really were a poor team.
I mean, they are a poor team, aren't they? They are. Yeah. James, I don't know how you watched it.
Completely legally via the means of the internet. But I mean, it's weird how we've played 3 really poor teams. But I think that Reading kind of just seemed like they just got the least to kind of. You're right in terms of the end. It didn't really feel like we were coming under constant pressure. It felt like they're a team that just seemed to be. There's a whole kind of sort of heart of that team that's missing. They don't have a soul to their team. Like Millwall had that push at the end. Ipswich seemed to have some kind of dogged fight about them, but Reading just didn't really seem to have anything.
No, they didn't. Also, you're going to like this one, Vic. I've got Newhugh didn't miss every header.
No.
Some of the vitriol on, when you see it live and then see the comments on Twitter, you go, what the fucking hell were you watching, you absolute shitlark? Do you know what I mean? Like, there was a few that saying, you almost every bloody header. He didn't.
Of course he did.
He literally
did.
connected with every single one. I mean, bear in mind the way we'd set up was literally like, we may as well have got a big mallet and boshed his head on the edge of the 18 and just stuck him in the ground and gone, there you are, hit that telegraph pole with the beard over there. And to be fair, we hit him every time. Every time the ball went in the air, who's going to shrug him off? Nobody. And I'll give it him, albeit, he didn't get the opportunity to get the ball at his feet a few times. And some of them were what we call in the Sunday League business 50p head. But he connected with every single one. I made a note of that, just for you there, Vic.
He had a shot saved as well, didn't he, Fudge? That was quite easily going to be a goal if it hadn't come in for their keeper.
Well, yeah, as are most saves, but we'll not blow too much smoke up his ass just yet because I can hear some of his Twitter thumbs kicking off already.
It was apparently set to be a class goal, wasn't it? And it just so happened that their keeper just had a really good day, and we've seen that a million times. We've seen that, in the last few years as well.
I think we're going a bit too far. I'm going to swiftly move on from that one. I've also, James, you'll find this quite interesting.
I'm meant to be cutting you off now. We're running out of time. We're 4 minutes over, and you've just slagged me off. So.
Oh right, well hang on then. Right, I'm going to pick 3 out here. So I've got Reach and Pelopessi were essentially spectators, but when called upon, did what they needed to. I feel that Barry Bannon's distribution in the middle and the yardage he covers kind of makes Pelopessi a bit surplus to requirements in some areas, and there's a few times where I don't really know what he's there to do, but I'm assuming we'll circle back to that. Bannon was sublime. There was a lovely moment where the fans were arguing who was shitter across the terraces, so we were going, how shit must you be? We're winning away.
Oh, I heard that.
And they sang back with, you've only scored 2. How shit must you be? You've only scored 2. Which was quite nice. And the last one was everybody singing Baby Shark, naming the players. So Lucas Joao, Lucas Joao. Now, having listened to this, if you've got kids in the car now, good luck with the rest of your day, kids.
Yeah, you've been here, world.
Thanks, Fudge.
It's all right.
Anyway, gang, of course, this week is the international break, so it's pretty much that's it for football analysis right now. So you could say it is time for a brew and a piece of cake and a fry up in the Riverside Cafe on Catch Bar Lane, now open on match days. Anyway, this week, of course, saw us do a bit more business in the loan window. So we put pen to paper and secured not 1 but 2 new loan signings this week. The embargo, my friends, is well and truly lifted. For those of you, the first of those is Tottenham starlet and under-21 international Josh Onomah. Obviously, last season he played a load of games for Villa and he seemed to impress. But James, what are your thoughts? And did we actually need another midfielder? That is the question.
Well, probably because half of our midfielders are constantly injured, and we just feel a little bit light, don't we? You've got obviously Bannon, you've got Reach that can kind of play that more central role, and then you've got kind of Hutchinson and Pellier Pessi really fighting it out over one place. So, I exactly what role this guy's going to play, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. He is very hotly thought of. He was at loan he was on loan even at Aston Villa last season. And played a fair amount of games. Played over half the games through the
30-odd games,
season. Yeah, got kind of 3 or 4 goals as well, and I think was very well thought of by Villa fans. And obviously, they made it all the way to the playoff final and lost. If he can get in a Villa team that very nearly gets to the Premier League, then you think that he'd be coming here, expecting to be in with a good shout of a starting place. So. It's going to be really interesting to see what role he plays. I suspect he'll probably be one of those players that starts from the bench in the first game after the international break, which I can't remember who. It's Stoke, isn't it?
I think has he been called up? Has he been called up by England for? I think I was reading earlier.
Possibly. He's represented England at under 16, under 17, under 18, under 19, under 20 and under 21 level. He is now 21, so I'm guessing we're talking about him being called up at under 21 level. He's got kind of the full club of, pretty much every age going there. I think he'll be quite disappointed if he doesn't get called up for the under 22s. It'll kind of break his pattern. We'll have to see. But am I right in thinking he's been given the number 7 shirt as well, which is, mixed.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't really mean very much in this day and age, but you kind of think, well, that maybe suggests that he's not going to be a bit part player if he's getting a kind of a 11 shirt.
For most of us, that means he's going to be in the first 11, doesn't it? Let's be honest. That is what we see when you see a squad number, when you see someone get, you always get your 40 odds or your 31s or whatever. But the 1 to 8 normally you expect to be in your first 11. So I think that's quite exciting. I do think he's an exciting player. And of course, Mr. Onamar wasn't the only loaning signing this month, this last week. We also saw the arrival of Chelsea's Michael Hector. Dicky, is he exactly what we need right now?
Do you know what? I think I said a couple of weeks ago, I know I keep saying Mick Lyons. I think I even mentioned it last night while we were out last night. It's just going back to my youth that my dad told me about. I said 2 weeks ago we needed that bastard.
Of course, yes, you don't remember Mick Lyons.
No, not at all. No, my dad keep telling me.
Your dad told
me all
you.
this stuff.
I know, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Same as Andy Pierce and that lot, everyone. Yeah, it was all of your dad. Go on then.
No, you tell me all about him. Anyway, so I was kind of thinking we needed somebody, and then Thornley's come in. They've changed the formation a bit. Penny's come in, and the defences for me looks a bit better. But I don't think there was any harm bringing in Hector, but from Chelsea. But it's obviously, from looking at his stats, he's had a hell of a lot of loan moves. More recently on Hull, he played full season for Hull last year, 36 games and 1 goal. So I kind of I don't recollect seeing him play, I'll be honest, but we'll see, I guess. But Thornley, he's got a dislodge Thornley right now, hasn't he?
I would dislodge Thornley. Anyway, but I think one of the things that we have to look at with both of these signings is that we've signed them from really good Premier League clubs. And Premier League clubs don't sign, your Jamie Vardy off Middlewood Road, do they? They sign, I know that's probably a pretty bad example. Luke Bowden. They don't sign Luke Bowden, right? They sign
the only strange thing about Hector, for me, is he's 26. He's not a youngster as such, is he?
That doesn't matter, does it? Because they can afford to pay
that's
him
a good thing for him
and just loan him out. Yeah, that is. I think sometimes.
I guess it is, but I think the point I'm trying to make is he's on loan at 26, and he's had lots of he's been loaned out to Reading, Eintracht Frankfurt, Hull in the last 3 years since he signed for Chelsea. He's not made an appearance for Chelsea.
But clubs like Chelsea can afford to keep players like that. We're not fortunate to be in that place. And I think sometimes we have to look at people like that. And, you look back to your Antonios when he was it Man City we got Antonio from? Am I going mental? They were quite... Reading. Oh, who was Man City? Helland.
Lee Peacock.
Lee Peacock! When we signed Lee Peacock...
Tony Cunningham.
I swear to God. Yeah. But, you look at players like that and you think, actually, all right, they're probably not going to make it into the first team of the Premier League squad that they're in. However, they can go out and play some really good loan games, and the team just keeps them as kind of an investment. It's just an ISA, isn't it, for them? It's just an ISA, just ticking along, earning a bit of money, keeping them afloat. And that's, we're probably never going to be that club, are we? We're never going to be that club that has 50 youngsters on 30 grand a week that we can just spaff out all over the league. However, we could be the club that just goes, yes, please, and takes on some really, really good footballers. And I think it's quite exciting, really, because, they'll be on pretty good money, let's be honest, probably more than what we earn in a year per month. However, they are young lads and they're willing to learn. And sometimes you end up with that gem that comes through and you end up keeping them and turning them into something. And you look back to your, I don't know, what's his face? Him that we always go on about, Ben Marshall's. We always go on about Ben Marshall and everyone else. That's what we need to sort of find. We need to find that sort of player yet again. And so I'm happy with that. But the one thing to look at with these two new signings, who needs to make way? I'll throw it out to the floor. Who needs to make way for these two?
Yeah, I think Anoma and Hector can both play centre midfield, and I probably, that might not be their preferred position, but I can see that happening. I can see someone like Pelopessi getting the old Spanish archer, and obviously having a decent backup as well. Nobody likes playing the kids, and they don't want to throw them in too early, and they want to keep the pressure on them, and all the rest of it that comes with it. So I do think that Penny and Thornley will probably have a minute, and they'll probably sit out a couple. But given the performances that he's been putting in, I certainly don't think it'll be Liam Palmer either.
Anyway, this week as well saw our beloved old girl turn 151 years old. What a babe. It really doesn't feel like a year ago since Cake Ball, does it? Fudge, things have been a little bit better this year, haven't we? We've seen the stripes come back. We've seen some new signings. How are you feeling about our 151 compared to our 150?
Well, there's clearly been some technical nous in terms of marketing behind the scenes, and that literally falls down with Catherine Mayer, who I assume we're probably going to talk about later because I know you guys ran into her yesterday evening. But
I love her. I love her. Oh. Yeah, okay.
Just to clarify, that is we didn't actually get a car and run her over, just to make that absolutely clear.
No, we're BFFs. BFFs now. Anyway, go on, Fudge.
Absolutely.
This is your bit. Ignore them perverts.
But as daft as it sounds, I don't want to sound negative, but the pressure's not been on the 151st year. The pressure is on the 150th, and we got it spectacularly wrong with overpriced dinners, crap cake balls, and kids running around in car parks with inflatable borders around them trying to play football before the game.
You said that about the dinner, Fudge. I had an absolutely belting night on the dinner. It was a brilliant night.
I assume you did, but some of our shit kicker fans had to remortgage their house for it. You know what I mean?
Well,
given the way they were talking on Twitter, but yeah, things seem to have settled. And I tell you what, it's actually James that gave me the perspective on it. Would we have given too much of a thought about it if the results on the pitch were going the correct way? Would we have complained about Cake Ball? Would we have complained about Catherine Mayer when she started? We wouldn't have bothered had we have had a good season. So because the football's not there, but the results are there. I think we're having a better time. That, and also we share a birthday with Beyonce, so that piqued my missus's interest. So that's nice, isn't it?
Do you know who else we share a birthday with? Everyone.
Who's that?
We share a birthday with the top of the Power League on Sky, Sir Lucas of Joao. He turned 25 this week. James, can you believe he's literally only 25? I know he has a son, but he's only 25. And how excited does that make you for the future of Lucas Joao? Because obviously we've got him on a long-term deal now. 25, he's suddenly come into his own in the last year or so. What else do we have to see from him?
I view it slightly differently in the respect that I still think of him as being I think in my head that when he joined us, he was 19. So he's probably only 22, 23 now. So he's actually a bit more kind of grown up than I maybe appreciated. 25 is
Same, to be fair, when I was writing the running order for this, I couldn't believe that he was 25. I thought like 22.
Yeah, I thought he was younger than that. But I mean, that's a good thing in terms of the fact that it means that, you know, I've kind of said to a few people that maybe Lucas Joao is kind of in the driving seat to be our first choice striker this season. And then you kind of think, well, is he a bit young? Should we be giving him that sort of responsibility? But he's 25 years old. You know, that's for a footballer, that's kind of peak age. You know, you should be 25 is when, you know, physically you're kind of at the top of your game. This particularly applies with someone like Lucas Joao. You know, your brain is kind of developing as a footballer in the way that you want it to. And we've all said with Joao that if his brain and his feet could kind of get in sync, then, you know, he would be a seriously dangerous footballer. And that is happening at the moment. You know, they are. And those times where he'd look to do something really clever and then kind of trip over himself or fall over the ball or something kind of 2-3 years ago, that doesn't happen now. He does something and he comes away with the ball. He can beat a man, and he can score goals, and we've seen him do that. And he seems quite grounded. He seems to be enjoying his football. He seems to be, you know, a real team player. He's not afraid to get back and do the kind of the dirty work that you need a striker to do sometimes. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the future, I think we're in a really exciting place with Lucas Joao. And, you know, I hope that he's been, I think he seems one of those players that just needs a little bit of careful management and maybe an arm around his shoulder at times and, you know, maybe a bit of telling off at other times. And I think that Jos seems like the kind of manager that's going to keep him in good check. So, you know, I'm excited to see what the rest of the season holds for him. And I know we've talked about it. The fact we've got him signed up to a new contract is just brilliant because I think that we've still got the best to see from this guy.
The 5th of September saw the 80th birthday of the saviour of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, Part 1, Milan Mandaric. The man who truly saved us, who took us from the brink of despair, let's be honest. And we've all seen now, like, stuff has come out since, and we see we were in a pit of shit, weren't we? It was all going to go wrong. Milan came in and saved us as a football club. And he found us Mr. Chansiri. He found us that bloke from Azerbaijan that never happened. But Dicky, do you have a birthday message for Mr. Mandaric?
Apart from, I think it's pronounced Hashbana Milan. Should always thank you, Milan. I think you said that the Saviour Part 1. You and Mr. Lord Hillsborough talked about the saviour last season. They come nowhere. This guy comes nowhere near to Milan Mandaric. Atinio. It's a streets apart. This man's a bloody hero.
Well, I'm not being serious, am I? Bloody hell.
He gave us a club that we were going to lose. He gave it back to us. And he's an absolute bloody hero in my book. And he passes on when he'd done taken as far as he could as it financially. So I've got absolute credit to the man. And just in some small way, I remember when Wednesday night we had our 10.07% shares, and we give shares back finally. After everybody been calling for it, and Milan actually came in and thanked the Wednesday night kind of board. And that was for me, that was a little bit of a moment for me. It's like, I was on shift when, it's been a slight little bit of difference. So he could take on the club and make sure that all of us could come and watch Wednesday every week.
What a guy.
Rich, Rich.
No, but what a bloke. Like, he really did. He saved the day, didn't he? He came in, he swept in, he did his stuff, and he walked away. And everyone always moans, saying he made a profit. Christ alive. If anyone can make a profit from football, they must be a genius. So he deserves any penny, literally any penny over the pound that he made from investing in Sheffield Wednesday. He deserves every single one in my book. But speaking of birthdays, I once had a really, really nice slice of cake from the Riverside Cafe on Catch Bar Lane. I'm just saying. So one of the way that we celebrated our one true love's birthday this week was with the premiere of All Wednesday, a film created by my amazing, wonderful colleague, Matt Exton. There's so much to talk about. Dicky and James, we went last night. And also with our secret Richard, who sits behind the scenes, who is probably, let's be honest, the best looking of all of us. He should be in front of the scenes. It really was something special, wasn't it? We started the evening with a beautiful meal in the showroom in Sheffield, which I definitely recommend. We were joined by some amazing guests, weren't we, Dicky?
Absolutely, yeah.
I believe that me and you are a little bit in love.
We are in love, yeah. I ask my my other half in a minute. I've just been banging about Catherine Mier all day long. I'm absolutely besotted by the woman. She's not only she's gorgeous, Fudge. You'd
die. She is beautiful.
You'd be lost
nice.
For words, mate.
She's so nice.
She's lovely.
And
she's
so
really, really nice.
Oh, I just love her.
She's got like a sexy French accent.
We need to put this in context.
She has. She really has. Yeah.
Oh.
Because we're kind of talking about it as if we just kind of like, admired her from afar, right? She came in with some other people, some other officials from the club, all arrived at the showroom at the same time. And because we were sat quite close to the bar, so they kind of walked past us. Now, obviously, Trevor, who's the comms director, we know him, he knows us, so we were kind of saying hello. Obviously, Vic, you worked with him for a few years. I
think we're taking a piss out of him a little bit more than anything.
The group, Catherine Mier was there, and we kind of got chatting with her a little bit, and she says, "Oh, is anyone sat here?" And she sat down at our table, and just chatted to us for half an hour.
I loved her. I absolutely
there was no
loved her.
reason she didn't have to do that. She just genuinely sat there and just kind of, chatted away until the food arrived, and then kind of went off and did her other stuff. And it was, I mean, afterwards, I kind of turned to you, Vic, and just went, did that just happen? Did the CEO of our club just literally just sit here for half an hour?
I think that the best thing for me out of all of that was the fact that we'd read so much about it, and like we'd all given her the benefit of the doubt, to be fair, as far as I remember, when we first discussed her on the pod when she came in. And I remember saying that it could just be lost in translation. Like she said, fans are customers and whatever else. And I agree with her. I 100% agree with her. Yeah. We are a customer. We paid to be there last night. We paid to be there every Saturday. That's what we do. We are a customer. We should have as much respect for the club as they have for us, and vice versa. But last night, it really felt like it had been lost in translation, because she was asking us questions that a random fan who had just picked us up from, like, I don't know, Norway or whatever. We find these fans sometimes. We've got the Brazil fans, we've got Norway fans, we've got South African fans, whatever. And they ask us questions like, how did you fall in love with Sheffield Wednesday? What was your first game? How did you feel about the era when you were called cretins and whatever else? But she asked those with genuine interest. I think she genuinely cared. And I think that is a different woman to what has been portrayed in the media. And she came across, she's a beautiful, beautiful lady, but also very powerful, but very calm with it. I don't think she comes across very much like a Karen Brady character. She comes across as a businesswoman who's got her head screwed on. She'll be as nice as pie to you if you need her to be, and if she needs to speak to you. But don't get me wrong, I would never ever cross her, because I think your head would be on a spike on the South Stand Bridge. Let's be honest. But she just came across like she genuinely cared.
Yeah. All joking apart, I just thought it was really nice. She came and sat with us, which for a start, and obviously we're taking a mick out of Trev a little bit, and I think that probably broke the ice with her. We knew Trev, but she was just genuinely a nice person, and she was really interested, obviously, in James's FFP kind of podcast and things. And I think she ended the night by saying she was probably going to give the podcast a listen. I think she did, James. She mentioned that to you, I think.
Well, she said that. I mean, I'm not taking that particularly.
I get that.
Nice thing for her to.
But it was a nice thing for her to. She didn't have to say it.
But she was incredibly engaged and just came across very genuine. And I imagine through her experience at Charlton, she's probably a little bit damaged by football fans. And in her situation, with some of the things that have been said about her, I'd have thought that she'd be, going out of her way to not spend time with fans, and probably quite scared to do that. So, I was genuinely blown away. And this is not us trying to kind of, show off and say, well, we spent half an hour with the CEO. We were just genuinely sat there having our tea, literally. And she just came and sat with us. And that, we could have been any group of fans. It was nothing to do with the fact that we were anything to do with this podcast. It was just where we were sat. And it was just, brilliant and remarkable. And, I think that I picked out, we did the end of season podcast at the end of last season. And I picked out the appointment of a chief exec being my highlight of the season, because on the pitch was rubbish. And at least that was a sign that we're going in the right direction off it. And the more I kind of hear about Catriel, and certainly obviously that first-hand experience, which most fans I accept will never have, but having that first-hand experience of it just made me think, actually, I'm kind of, I feel positive about the direction the club's going in. And that was never on the cards last night. It was just about going to see a film. So, the fact that we kind of all came away beaming from spending time with the chief exec was, amazing. And thank you to her.
I think one thing as well, that the three of us, and obviously Secret Rich, who doesn't come on the podcast, one thing that we all got out of it as well from talking to Mark, Trevor, Catriel, was that we don't need to be censored about the whole thing. They were very much, they appreciate what happens on this podcast. They get it. They were very complimentary about different podcasts. There's no chance of us getting an email saying, whatever you do not talk about Jordan Rhodes, or do not talk about. They were very, very open to it. And I think that shows that as a club, we have moved ahead so much in the last 10 years. Like, really, really have. Oh, well, not even 10 years, 15 years, say. In that they were fine. Like, they all listened. There was no sort of, I can't believe you said X, Y, or Z. Even Tom Lees was quite friendly to us, and I was a bit embarrassed about that. We obviously bought Lee Bullen a pint, and Lee, you now owe us an interview, and I know you're listening, she said she did. But it was really nice. It didn't feel awkward. It didn't feel like we were the outsiders. It really felt like we weren't the enemy of the club, and I think that's a really great place to be.
Should we talk about the really important stuff now, though? Because there was a bloody cracking film that this whole thing led up to. So obviously we were buzzing. We were buzzing, weren't we, before we even got inside the cinema. I still am from what happened. But bloody hell, that film, I didn't know what to expect. Right, I've kind of seen football documentaries and stuff before, and some of them are good, and some of them can be a bit dull. And I really didn't know what to expect. But I know, obviously, Vic, because you work with Matt, and you kind of said that he's really good at what he does. I do. And I thought, okay, this could be all right. I was not prepared for just how amazing that is. And, there were 280 seats in that cinema. There were 280 people that saw that version of that film, which will now never be seen anywhere again because of various kind of copyright things, because it was a private screening. The version that will be publicly released will not be the same as that. And that, obviously, what I've just said is incredibly annoying to anyone that's listening to this that wasn't there. And I apologise for that. But, for me as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, to have seen that, I feel incredibly proud, quite humbled to have been part of that experience, because it was phenomenal. And I cannot get across just how good that film was.
I think I said to Trevor last night, I felt incredibly lucky to be at the 150th dinner that started it all, which I thought was a fantastic night, regardless of whatever people think about ticket prices, etc. But it was a brilliant night, and I think they ended it with an equally as good night. For me, it absolutely blew me out of the water. And if you go and look on YouTube and search under Matt Exton, there are the 2 trailers out there that give you a little bit of what it was about. And I'll speak for probably everybody in the room. I don't think there was a dry eye in the house towards the end. It was absolutely the most emotional film I've seen. And I think the old Wednesday, I'm talking about it now, I'm getting a hair stand up on the back of my neck. It talks about the Wednesday way quite a bit. And we all want the Wednesday way is. We always do it the hard way, 90th minute, and we're 3-1 up and draw 3-3, at Derby and that kind of stuff. And I think that's what really came out of it for me. But having looked back at the two trailers today, I got to both sides of it. So I think where it started off, was a drone over Hillsborough, and Silver Lining, and the whole 280 people who are in the cinema were clapping and singing to it, which was absolutely brilliant. I thought it was immense. But at the other end of it, it was really quite a somber moment with some of the fans that they spoke to.
It was truly made to the highest of standards, wasn't it? I think we could all say that. I'm not just saying that because Matt is a colleague and I love him to pieces. He's brilliant. He is a really, really talented filmmaker and director. And I think, yeah, like you said, there were interviews with right. I hate kids. We all know this. I'm not a fan of kids. I like yours, Rich. I tolerate them. They're fine. They're nice little children. I tolerate Eddie.
I think you're a tosser.
I'm a godmother and all that shit. But I'm not a massive fan of children. But do you know what? The one kid that gets me every time is the kid that came up the steps on the south stand and his dad lifted his hands over his eyes. Yeah. And every time I watch that, I sob because I just think one day that'll be mine and James's little boy. Like that'll be our that'll be our moment.
Jesus.
But that'll be it. Like that'll be
sure.
through surrogacy, babe. Like, but that'll be it. And that moment, I think for a lot of people in their 20s, 30s, 40s who don't have children, or do even, that is the moment that you watch it and you go, oh my God, yes. Like that is exactly what I want. That is exactly what I got. And that made me sob. And then we started talking about fans that we'd lost over the last few years and fans that there was the story about the two guys that sadly passed away on the way back from Coventry. And I remember that because I was at Coventry and I remember like getting stuck in the traffic and everything else. And as soon as I saw the guy on the screen, I was sobbing because I thought, shit, I was there that day. I was on the train.
You
like,
weren't, Vic,
that could have been me.
I wasn't there that day, but obviously it probably losing some of your own. It kind of is hard. And I think it got everybody in the room at that point. I'm damn sure, and all the ones I spoke to were in bits at that point.
Everybody,
man, woman, child.
I think everybody in there. You know, we were talking about people. There was obviously Nigel Goodison the other year who passed away at the Derby game. There were a few others that were mentioned, and I've sort of followed like Nigel's family and his son who's fit. But I know I've followed all of that and I've paid attention to stuff. And that to me has made an impact on my life just because I think that could have been my dad. That could have been James. That could have been Dicky. That could have been Ed. Do you know what I mean? It could have been any of us that day and it wasn't. And so watching an interview with a family member just really, really got to me. But I think Matt did it so tastefully and so elegantly, and it was just wonderful. So yeah,
it was just a cauldron of emotion, wasn't it? It really was a roller coaster of emotion. And what I quite like about it, and we all commented actually when we came out, and we sort of said, we didn't do the Cardiff playoff final, that wasn't featured in it. And you kind of think, some of the stuff that was featured in it were quite kind of, small. Not games that you class as being particularly significant, but it was about people's memories and it was people just telling stories. And Matt's done something, really, really special with the stories that people have told him and the way that, kind of the way he's used a bit of music along with it. And, it was just, it was a real experience and it was an hour and 15 minutes. And I would quite happily be still sat there now, 24 hours later, still watching it. If you could have dragged it out to 24 hours, I'd have watched 24 hours of it because it was just brilliant. But I mean, we've obviously talked about it quite a bit. We should probably hear from the man himself because after the screening, we were fortunate enough to be able to grab a bit of time with Matt, who is the guy that kind of put this film together. And also, Worth has given a mention here as well to Sean, who's kind of helped him along the way as well. So Matt and Sean, who are the guys who've created this film, we had a chat with them, and then we went off in search of someone else to have a chat with mixed results. All right, have a listen. This is kind of the story of the night. So Matt, I'm going to ask you a little bit about the film in a minute, but right now, what's going through your mind? How are you feeling right at this moment?
I hadn't even really had time to register it, to be honest, because it's been such a kind of whirlwind past few weeks. I don't really know what I expected. Like initially, I suppose I was thinking when they were first announced they were doing a screening that they'd be kind of like, okay, that could be interesting. But there's been a bit of a history with the 150th year sort of thing. That there's been a few things go a bit pear-shaped. But yeah, I was kind of a bit apprehensive. But no, I think like I was kind of a bit amazed, a bit sort of taken aback, overwhelmed, I suppose, about the fact that it had sold out and that people were buzzing to come in. The amount of I've never had that much kind of engagement on Twitter ever. Like it's been sort of like, I don't use Twitter that much, but since just putting a couple of little things out and the club obviously tweeting about it a lot, it's just been mental, really. So I haven't had time to process it yet, but I think the thing at the end with the photo with Tom Lees and kind of everybody in the background, I'm quite looking forward to seeing that. That was quite a nice little sort of feeling, I suppose. Yeah.
Now we know, because obviously Vic's here as well, we know that you've been off the day job for the last couple of weeks, putting the finishing touches to it. It was literally yesterday when you got everything finished. Watching it tonight, how did that feel? Did it feel real? Has it kind of sunk in that was it? That was your film?
I think the thing is, I had a lot of problems with it. That's why it took so long until 4 a.m. on Sunday night, Monday morning. It was kind of finished, and it's just typical. Like, every time I work on something, I export it. It's fine. There's never any problems. And then as soon as I'm doing something that's got this kind of deadline, it's like, here's a problem. And it's like, oh, for God's sake. And the thing is, I didn't want to export that because it's an hour and 15 minutes. I didn't want to export it all in one go, because if at any point it breaks, I've lost that time. So I kind of exported it out into 4 sections, and each section, with it being about 20 minutes long, I think it took like 40-50 minutes to just export that one bit. So you've lost an hour, so you've got to try and get it right. And then basically it came out, and I think the first one I did, I was watching it was fine, and then towards the end all these glitches started coming up, and then there were problems with the audio, sort of like audio levels and syncing weren't quite right, so then it took me basically another 2 or 3 hours to fix it all, which is why it was such a ball ache. But like now, it's like at the end, I'm sorry, I've completely forgot what your question was. I've just gone off on a tangent about nerdy kind of rendering issues. So I don't know what I'm talking about.
At what point in the last year or so then did you sit down and think, because obviously I know, I work with you, this is your day job as well, you make films, you make amazing films. At what point did you think, I'm going to do a proper labour of love here, I'm going to throw the two together, my two passions in life? At what point did you sit down and think that was a good idea, and how did you get your wife to agree to that?
Well, basically, I was doing, I think the year before I started on it, I was doing loads of freelance jobs for the university. So I do stuff at the uni, and then I do stuff outside as well. And I was coming home and I was working until sort of midnight on freelance jobs, and it was getting to the point where, and they were all like really, kind of, no offence to them, but really kind of boring jobs. And I was doing it every night, and Rachel I can't be doing with this every night. You're just up there working, and I got to the point where it's like, I'm not enjoying kind of what I'm doing anymore. I'm not enjoying making films or doing animations. It's just lost interest. So I decided to make the decision to stop doing freelance work and put something into something what I actually care about. And at first it was, like I say, it was going to be about the playoff final and kind of the aftermath of that. And then I thought, well, the bubbles burst a little bit on that front, so it would then turn into more of like, well, maybe it could be stretched out to, the wider audience and the wider history, I suppose.
There's a bit, as you were kind of talking on stage before the film started, there were a couple of points that you got quite emotional. What's it kind of been like working on this? Because I imagine, there's a lot of ups and downs in the film. In terms of actually putting that together, it must have been a bit of an emotional rollercoaster.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. I finished uni in 2006, so I've been editing and doing stuff for 12 years professionally, and then I've done some quite hard-cutting, edgy kind of videos with people, interviews with people that have been through kind of tragic circumstances, and it's never really affected me because I've just thought, well, that's kind of my job, and I try and move people with the kind of story of it, but I've never felt connected to it in the terms of like, I can relate to this person sort of thing. And I think there was a moment when I was editing it and I was doing the kind of scene towards the end with Sean Rhodes and Stephen Fairbank and obviously Nigel Goodinson, and when I was kind of cutting it, and I was fine cutting it, and then I sort of like, after every sort of few minutes I'll just play it and watch it back, and it's amazing what a piece of music does, because I'd cut it all in terms of the sequence, and I was like, right, okay, that's starting to work. And then I put this music on that I found, and then I watched it back, and I just kind of burst out crying, because it was like all of a sudden, it was like Jesus, when you sort of think, because I remember the incident in the car coming back from Coventry. I remember that very vividly. At the time, I thought, bloody hell, that's awful, and it's always kind of stuck with me, that. And then obviously, like the Fulham game, I happened to be kind of filming that game just to get crowd shots, and then it kind of came about that there was this tribute for the fan, Nigel, who kind of passed away, and then everybody did the applause, and I caught that on film. I thought this would be great to give to Ryan, his lad, and that's how I got in touch with him. I sent it him, I started a conversation. I said, well, would you mind maybe possibly giving a tribute to your dad on camera? And I thought, well, maybe there's more to this. Maybe there's more to football and being a fan, rather than just kind of cheering and being pissed off when you lose. It's kind of more about, it's that family connection, and yeah, the grief involved in kind of such rare circumstances to lose somebody at a match is just, I can't imagine what both those guys and the families went through, to be honest. So yeah, it really hit me, that, to be honest.
We said obviously there's a lot of ups and downs in the film, and a heck of a lot of stuff that you didn't get a chance to include in it. A lot of stuff that's happened over the years. What's the kind of the moment that really stands out to you when you watch the film back? What do you pick out as being your kind of highlight from it?
I don't know. I think probably that moment with the tribute to with the fans. I think that was, for me personally, I felt that was important to be included, and although it's not a very nice thing to kind of go through, I think it was the point that I thought, this of everything that is going in, this has to go in, and it has to be given time, because a lot of things were kind of chopped quite short. It was kind of more like, rather than a film, it was like a bunch of little films, like within one kind of all-round package, where it's like a little segment about this happening, and that, I think, deserved time to actually be told, and not just cut off and quickly done and got rid of. I think that really needed that kind of bit of time to so people knew what it was about. So yeah, I'd say that was probably the highlight. In a kind of weird way, that was the highlight to go in there, I think.
We've got Sean with us, who worked on the film as well. As you watch that back, what's your highlight from that?
It's just the different emotions that the fans talk about. I think the end, the Aren't We section, where all the fans talk about what it means to be a fan, I think that's something that we can all relate to. You can look at different matches and different people's stories, which are good, but really hearing what everyone says about what it means to be a fan, that's something that I think everyone can relate to when they watch the film.
And what's it been like working on the project? Because it's something quite, monumental. I don't really know what I expected coming to watch the film tonight, and afterwards I just turned to Vic and I was just like, that was just phenomenal. That was mind-blowing. What's it been like kind of working on it behind the scenes?
It's been great. I've really enjoyed it. Like Matt, I just enjoy working on projects that I'm into myself and that I'm passionate about. I actually heard about it originally on the podcast. Yeah.
Is that why we got thank you?
So when I heard about it, I didn't think that I had a story, but I'm a filmmaker myself, and I just thought this is something that sounds really interesting. And I wrote to Matt and said, do you need a hand? So we just went for a drink and chatted about it, and then I ended up getting involved and went to a couple of games and got lots of other shots, and we did some of the interviews together, and he needed 2 people. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and just great to I don't know, when we get together you just don't end up chatting about we want to talk about the film, but we just end up talking about the latest Wednesday politics or whatever's going on as well. So it's been great.
Vic, what was your highlight from it?
Well, everyone's saying the tributes, aren't they? I think the tributes, but for me, it's got to be our little Max. Oh, he's so cute. He did so well. So for those of you that haven't seen the film tonight, Max Reynolds is one of the guys from the Cop End, and he is just adorable. We love him. He's obviously over 18 now, because we see him in the Riverside Cafe. He did very well in his A-level results recently, so well done, Max. But no, he came across so well, and I just think there were just so many people in there that you just, even if you didn't know the names, you kind of knew the faces, and I think that was the nice thing about it. Like there were the 2 lads in the Wednesday Tap, and I definitely knew the one on the left, but I couldn't tell you where from or how, or definitely not dated him. So I don't know who he was, but I did get his name. So
Dicky's here as well. What was your highlight from it?
I think it was the tributes at the end. It was kind of, I think that was a real bit that got everybody emotion of it. It kind of stirred the hairs on the back of my neck were up the whole bloody film. They just absolutely, even now talking about it, just going back to bits in time of Rumbelows Cup and whatever, the dink on the post that you repeated, which was kind of, as more and more I heard it, more and more I kind of, I'll admit it, I had a couple of tears just appearing. I'm like, I'm going to be a man, I'm not going to cry, but I did. So, the emotion was absolutely spot on, absolutely nailed what the Wednesday way, which came out of it really strongly for me.
I agree with what everyone said. My personal highlight was absolutely the appearance of the stunned Brummie at Birmingham away, which was absolute comedy genius. So congratulations to
them. I kind of work that in, to be honest, because there was somebody who actually talked about that moment, and I thought, that's brilliant. I've got to put that in, but I kind of couldn't find a place to sneak it in. Just the way he kind of worded it didn't quite fit in with the flow of it, but I thought, well, maybe I can just reference it in some sort of form. So I was quite pleased with that bit personally.
Now there's going to be a lot of people listening to this that haven't been here to see the film tonight. So the question I've got to ask really is what happens now? What happens with this film now?
Well, the plan is to release it online, either YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, for free. So, it was always a thing from the start. I didn't want it to be something where it was a way of kind of getting money out of fans. I understand that ticket prices tonight has been purely done, I think, to recoup the cost of what it cost to hire this place out. And that's fair enough, but I didn't get involved in that side. But yeah, it was always going to get put out at all access, that anybody could do it. But there's a few things I might have to clean up, take out legally, without going into too much detail. Yeah, probably. I don't think
it was a private screening tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if is it Gabrielle who sings Dreams. I don't think she'd quite.
Can you not get out of Reach though, because that fits so well with Annie.
I'm sure she's a Wednesday fan, isn't she?
Yeah, Secret Wednesday, definitely.
Maybe,
there'll be a link somewhere.
But the plan is that at some point it's going to, as close as it can to tonight. There was also a couple of things I didn't get a chance to put in because of the deadline, about Hartlepool in 2005 and Brighton and Hull, and that was quite recent, but I had stories for that and just didn't have time to kind of squeeze them in. So they might get put in as well, added into it, but I don't want to tinker with it too much. But I think, people are asking about DVDs, which again is a possibility. I've just not had that conversation with the club yet. It could happen, but we have to I have to tread carefully, make sure I'm not kind of getting sued by, whoever. So we'll see. Yeah, but it will go out at some point. I'm hoping before the end of the year. Yeah.
And finally, after all the work and everything that's been involved, has it been worth it?
I think definitely. I mean, without a doubt, I shouldn't even have to think about it. But I think that moment kind of at the end when people were clapping and the selfie on stage with everybody behind, I can't wait to see that photo. And at that moment, and also I think the kind of moments through it, I was thinking, this is probably the best thing I've ever done, and it's because it's about something I care about. It's not kind of rushed or bashed out or kind of I've done it because I'm on a time limit and a kind of budget where it's I've gone over now, they owe me some more money. It's kind of it's I can put as much time into it as I can, because there's no kind of there's no kind of limit to it. Needed time, it needed to, but it was worth all those hours. Basically, in a nutshell, it was worth every hour spent on it. And just to say as well, I can't thank fans enough, and particularly Sean for helping me out, because he kind of came in touch. He's a freelancer, he knows kind of what it's like to struggle getting jobs in and kind of make that kind of living on a job by job basis. So to give up his time to come and help me with it was brilliant. So cheers mate. Appreciate that.
Well, I just think it was fantastic. I did have a slight Barbara Wood moment at the end. I don't know if you know. Well, you did notice it. I stood up on my own. There was nobody else stood up. It was like my mum at the end of a musical. I was like, James, James, and he went, in a minute. So yeah, thanks for that as well.
Yeah. Not my fault.
And also, we're in the credits, so hey!
Yeah,
thank you for that.
I remember you giving me a mention when it first came out.
Why have we got that?
Yeah, I remember listening to the podcast when it came out, and I can't remember, it might have been one of you guys, but yeah, I remember it being plugged and talked about, and I thought, well, I'll give those guys a bit of a nod. So yeah,
thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks very much. Maybe I'll get a pint.
So it's James and Vic still here. And Dicky's here as well.
Thanks, yeah.
Sorry, we've had a few beers, that's the way it goes. We wanted to have a chat with Catherine Mier. And she was.
We had a chat with her earlier.
Yeah.
She was wonderful. She was so lovely. I love her.
And I was.
really think I'm in love. I'll be honest.
I'll not repeat some of the comments that Dicky made earlier. But unfortunately, club management says no, we're not allowed to do that.
Well,
and
no,
then,
I think the reasoning from the club was that she gets asked all the time. She's quite conscious about doing it, given what's happened before. And if she said yes to us, she'd have to say yes to everybody. So
then we thought we'll get Lee Bullen instead.
Sorry.
But he's gone home. So we managed to drag someone in off the streets. It's Neil of Owl's Talk fame. Hello, sir.
Call me in when absolutely everybody else is unavailable.
Said no.
Scraping bottom of the barrel with Owl's Talk.
Tried Stephen Haslam.
Oh God!
It was between you and Dom Howson, so
brutal.
So the premiere of All Wednesday tonight. What did you think?
I thought it was an hour and 15 of everything that is being a Sheffield Wednesday fan all summed up into one film, to be fair. I thought Matt Exton, who's put this film together, has gone into the archives and he's interviewed Wednesday fans from all different age ranges and demographics and kind of put together just a montage, really. It didn't really have a timeline. It just kind of dipped in and out of all different eras, and I like that approach. And I think every Wednesday fan in the room, well, he got a standing ovation, so that said it all, ultimately.
What was your favourite bit?
The Brentford bit, I think, when we went to Brentford away, because I just remembered every second of that game. And going down to Brentford as well, because I drove a massive tour bus that we'd acquired, and I remember smashing it up in Brentford, like parking up and that, and then going into the match, and then going to the pub after and watching it on their screens and stuff. So everything that were playing out in front of me on the big screen was just like being back there again. So that kind of triggered probably the most memories. But all of it, to be fair, apart from like the bits where I weren't born, all the bits where I were at the games and that, obviously a bit of a tearjerker as well at some points and that. But I thought it were outstanding. I thought it were really good. And what a good event as well, because I think the whole thing of it being on the club's birthday, the ticket price is $18.67 to get in, and then you've got this hour and a half or whatever it was of this celebration of being Wednesday fan. And for me, it's always been about the fans, this club. And I think when I did the crowd photography at the matches and stuff, that meant a lot to me, because now we've got a big archive of dad and lad photos for future generations to
or
look
just
back at.
photos of me at a really bad time.
Yeah, plenty of them.
Eating a pie. And he just tagged me in them all. Honestly, I'm untagged from so many photos of me
But I think when you flip it back to like the 150th anniversary, and we've had that happen, I think there was so much that kind of, in a Wednesday kind of way, all kind of went a little bit skewed, and like the kit fiasco and stuff like that. I think this is a good way to just kind of round it off and kind of draw a line in the sand and say, right, just forget all that and let's just like crack on now. And I think I just want the wider fan base to be able to access and see this film. I know Trevor from the club, he says, how many fans do you think would download this and watch it if it came available? And I'm just like, everybody, why wouldn't they? Why would you not? If it were available on YouTube or Vimeo or whatever, why would you not press play on that and have a look at it at least, you know what I mean?
I actually think I would have people round and watch it like as a group of friends, like have us guys round or whatever, and actually sit there and watch it as friends again, because I would have cried a lot more at home, I think, tonight than I would have done in that screening. Yeah, definitely.
Did you have a tear in your eye at any point?
Yeah, I think I did. I think I'm trying to think. When I mentioned it earlier, I was trying to think of which bit it was, but it was like towards the end. I can't remember which bit it was. But there's a few moments where I'm like, oh God, here we go. And I could imagine people behind me, because I'm on front row, imagine people behind me having a little bit of a tear in their eye and stuff.
welling up now just to think about it.
I just need more beers. Right. One Coke, driving.
So while we've got you, Neil, what's your kind of take on stuff generally at the club at the moment? How do you kind of see things on the pitch?
On the pitch, I think positive. I think we've got. It feels like we've gone through the rough bit and we've got through the worst and we've bottomed out and it's starting to show a little glimpse of hope again. For me, over the last couple of years, I'll be honest, I've been raging just from time to time. I think from when Carlos went, and I just felt a little bit like I've been conned a little bit by him, and then Josh came in. I've just been more angry and more angry about the stuff off the pitch, and it's kind of affected how I've even been bothered about the on-pitch stuff. But now it's kind of smoothing out a little bit. I think Katrine coming in was a bit of when it was announced, that was a bit of a worry, but she's kept kind of in the background just ticking over and seems to be doing like great things. So for me it's looking good. It's looking good. I think we've got the 2 loan players in, we've got all the injured players coming back, and the results are obviously going well at this moment in time, so I just hope it progresses from there. I really do. I like Joss.
The big question, Alstott podcast, what's going on there? Are you making a comeback?
No, I doubt it. Alstott podcast, we started as an idea, and I love the platform, and I like what your guys do, and I think we started as an idea, but we're just too drunk to organise it. But I think we just found that we got more and more progressively drunk before we started, and it just turned into like a rambling mess. Which we thought were funny, but it's 2 brothers
chatting over beer,
chatting absolute nonsense. But you realise that, like, if you were in a pub of sober people and these 2 lads were sat at a table talking what we were talking, you'd be like, yeah, let's not listen to that. So it got to the point where we're playing some songs on a keyboard or something. I can't even remember, but it was just horrific listening. So we've been busy. So I don't know if we'll revive it. I doubt it, because your guys have filled the gap anyway from our quality entertainment.
Neil, I'm going to take you back now to 2006, 2007. Now, we did many a photo shoot together for outlets.tv. What was your favourite? I would say that my favourite had to be when we got paid by Charlie Brown's for me to hold a spanner.
Oh, God.
Can you remember that?
Gee, I forgot all about that.
In front of a tyre.
Oh, my God. There's a memory for you. Stood in front of a
There's been
tyre.
so many. Can you remember we went to that one studio and it was actually a porn set?
Yeah, that were a bit of an eye-opener in more ways than one.
We've been in the woods, we've been in Hillsborough Park.
But what about the photo shoot?
I think Charlie Brown's is up there with my favourites.
Yeah, I think times have moved on now, so it's like obviously not the
Hashtag
done
me
thing.
too.
Yeah, it is just, but I think at the time it was a right laugh, and I think that's just another example of just trying to think of ideas where you can just let the fans have a laugh. And
everyone thought we were so serious though, didn't we?
Yeah.
We didn't realise that it was just me and you on the road taking the piss.
It was a laugh. I mean, the more things like that, and like tonight with the film and that, the better for me. I just think anything that. One thing that struck me tonight actually is when you look at this film that's been put together by a fan, with fans, about fans, it made me think that I think now's the time for Wednesday fans to stop expecting the club to do this, and for fans to start generating, like doing their own films and their own podcasts and stuff, and for everything to be like fan generated. Take the pressure off the club, because like the club is strained behind the scenes in the offices. They've got enough to do. So for fans now to start generating new ideas, and you know, whether it's on social media or film or video or music even, you know, just like for fans to start generating stuff rather than expecting the club to do it. That's what struck me tonight. I hope it happens.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but a few years ago, me and James went to Mallorca on holiday, and somebody asked him what it would take to get him to take a photo in a blue bikini. And he said 1,000 likes, and that tweet got 1,000 likes. And I was just wondering, do you still own the domain name outlets.tv? There it is.
Oh, God, that's horrific. That's horrific.
Oh, look, do you have that saved in your favourite?
He's in my favourite. Look at that, I'm fluffing now. That's
oh my God.
James is a big boy.
Now, if you do still own the domain name, can we just set that as the image?
I don't. I think I deleted it all off and that. It's like all done and dusted.
Well, if you want me to send it you.
Well, that's a shame, isn't it? What a shame that is.
We can sort it. Start of a new project, that one.
Brilliant, Neil. Thank you very much for your time.
Anytime. You know
Thank you.
No problem.
So after that, it's, we have to say to people, it really was a fabulous film. It was a fabulous piece. It was a memory that I want to show my dog, my children, my grandchildren, whoever. I want to show it them because it really did encapsulate everything that we talk about on a match day. And there was one point in the film that somebody talked about the smell of the grass and the smell of beer and the smell of, and do you know what? From the minute I leave my house on a Saturday afternoon and I walk up to the end of my road and there's a smell. And then I walk to the end of the bridge and there's a smell. And there's no particular smell to it. I couldn't describe it if you wanted to make a perfume, but that is exactly what I smell every week. And then I go to the riverside and I see everybody and it's just wonderful. And I get to the ground and I smell grass and it's just amazing. And I think that it captured the whole thing, didn't it?
I've just posted both the trailers on the Wednesday Week Twitter account, so go and have a look at those, and that'll give you a feel of it. And having shown it to several people today and sent it to them, my kids now want to see the film because they've kind of got a flavour of it. Even though there's that one of the trailers is quite the somber one, and the other one's quite the positive one. It's kind of flicks between the two, but the kids want to see it. Lots of people now actually want to see it, and it's created a whole buzz around it, I think. Which is a really good thing for.
I think everybody should see it, and if Matt can put it on YouTube or Vimeo or Wednesday Player or whatever, it's worth watching. It really, truly is, and I hope at some point it comes out on DVD, and it can be one of those things that I just watch on a Saturday night when I normally watch the playoff final at Cardiff. It'd be lovely to watch that instead. Anyway, it was a brilliant evening. It was lovely to see so many familiar faces. We saw obviously Max and Jean and everyone from the Cop End. We saw Tango. We saw Bully. We saw so many people. We can't even keep up. Neil, obviously. Anyway, it is time to say goodbye. So, James, if people want to get hold of you, my darling, how do we find you on Twitter and how do we slide straight into your DMs?
I do actually have open DMs, on Twitter, so anyone can send me any kind of abuse that they want to, and often do, which is fun. It's at James Marriott.
Wonderful. I might just do that. Dicky, how do we slide into your DMs, babe?
You can slide into my DMs anytime, baby. But you can find me at Dicky L on Twitter, and I'm now unlocked, so anybody can follow me now, so I'm all good.
Okay, well, if you want to find me on Twitter, my username is Victoria1867, or you can find me in the Riverside Cafe on a match day in the outside bar. And of course, if you want to find Dan Fudge, God bless his soul, who knows where he is at Dan Fudge on Twitter. So I've got a little treat for you now this week. There's been some sort of discussion on social media about different songs and different lyrics that work with Wednesday players and whatever. So if you're of a nervous disposition, I encourage you to turn away now. But if not, here you go. I give you Mr. Eddie Cash with Hurt.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel a focus on Jose. Wish we'd offered him a deal. His absence leaves a hole. Our midfield lacks his sting. Try to cheer for David Jones, but I remember everything. What has he become? Ronaldo's friend. Every hour we love goes away in the end. and you could have it all. My new EU Kosovo shirt, just for some Mito back to see opponents hurt. I'll wear this crown of thorns upon my North Stand chair, full of broken dreams. Promotion was right there beneath the Hillsborough lights. The feelings disappear. I think back to League One when you were still right here. What has he become? Ronaldo's friend. Every hour we love goes away in the end, and you can have it all. My Van San Sasso shrine, just for some Mito there, protecting our back line. If I could start again and build a team my way, the first name on the list would be the great Jose.
Anyway, it's that time to say goodbye, guys. So, Dan Fudge, what is your username and how do we get in touch with you?
Nah, mate, Dan Fudge is dead. He's gone.
Is he gone?
Yeah, he's gone off to make his own film about Sheffield Wednesday. What he's going to do is he's going to record himself driving from Reading town centre to the ground in Reading. It's just going to be him singing Lucas Joao for 20 minutes. It's going to be great. So if you want to see that, it's at Dan Fudge.